My name is Angie Uriu, and I am your council treasurer this year. I was council treasurer last year as well, so the first time ever being a treasurer. I'll be co-facilitating this presentation with my cohort VP of Leadership, Xochitl Martinez.
Good morning, everybody.
And I just want to let you know there is a lot of information for treasurers, and we have 20 units in this district, and all of you are unique and have different needs. So while we may not cover every little aspect, we're going to cover the basics, and you can always send us questions. And if we can't answer the questions today, hopefully we have time, but if we don't, we will follow up later with you all.
Just to let you know that we are recording today, and this recording will be available on our website at a later date, along with any of the questions and answers that are posted today, as well as on Saturday, where our Q&A at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I hope you signed up for those too.
All right, Xochitl.
Okay, I just want to remind you of our PTA Council of PUSD mission. We are a teacher association council of Pasadena Unified School District with support and establishment, development, and maintenance of vibrant and cohesive parent, teacher, student organizations at PUSD schools. Leveraging the diversity of viewpoints and wealth of resources within the Pasadena, Altadena, and Sierra Madre community, we will strive to provide all PUSD students a superior education.
So we just want to clarify that while it may feel like all the financial responsibilities are on your plate, the responsibilities of the units funds are actually all of the officers' responsibilities. It's not just you. So please lean into your fellow officers when you need help. Yeah, and as we walk through this presentation, just if those of you have just joined in, you can feel free to type any questions you have in the chat.
These are just some financial resources for you as you're getting your books ready for the year and getting ready for your budget to present to your board and also to your association. Please visit these, especially when it comes to tax time. You'll see some annotated forms there that will make it easier for you. And again, just to remind you, we are always here to help you, so you can email, text us, you know, give us a phone call, and we'll be happy to answer.
I'm trying to forward. Okay, there we go, that's better. So the best treasurer. Well, first off, I just want to say to all of you, all of the treasurers that have joined us today, thank you. You are the best treasurer already for volunteering for this job. You know, this website, Xochitl mentioned, will be uploaded to our council website soon, but I'll let you guys read the description there. We also have given you a link, a CAPTA link, which you can find even more detailed description for you. But I just want to reiterate that this is a detail-oriented job. I believe redundancy is your friend. Documenting everything and in multiple places and making copies of all the checks that pass through your hands will help you whenever there are any issues. And it'll also help for smooth audits when they occur. You are an elected member, I should reiterate this. You can't be a viable PTA or PTSA without the treasurer, and you are the most senior manager of the PTA funds, and you also are the chair of the budget committee, so you lead that process. Xochitl?
So being the treasurer is an elected position. Your PTA cannot run without the president, the treasurer, and your secretary. So you are vital to your unit. Now that you're the incoming treasurer, you need to meet with your outgoing treasurer so you can learn the accounting systems, whether they're electronic digitally or up on the cloud, or if it's the old-fashioned paper and pencil kind. You need to understand the reports that they created, and you can always make these reports your own as long as the basic information is there. You are not tied down to any of these systems or no, just the systems. But And you can make them as detail-oriented as your unit needs it, or as simple and clear as your unit needs it. You need to review audited records from past year, also the financial report and the tax returns. We'll touch more on taxes at a later date. There will be a training on that for treasurers and auditors at one of our council meetings, so please keep an eye out for those coming dates, and they're going to be in September, I believe, because all of your taxes are due in November. And you're also going back, you also need to get all your treasurer supplies from the outgoing treasurer. It's all the binders, the pencils and staplers, everything you need, so you need to get that. You also need to meet with your incoming president. You need to survey your school's needs, your goals that you want for that you both want or that your committee wants for the school. You need to review your past year's financial reports with the board and with the president, and also to remind everybody the 3-to-1 rule, which is 3 programs to 1 fundraiser. And my favorite example is having a restaurant nights. You have a year's worth of restaurant nights. It could be 7, it could be 2, but that is 1 fundraiser. You can bundle it all together into 1 fundraiser. And as long as you have 3 programs, whether it's Friday morning coffee with the principals, it could be an assembly that you pay for all the grades, and it could also be something as reading night with virtual reading night right now during this difficult time. But those are 3 programs that you could tie into your fundraisers. Go ahead, Andy.
Okay, so once that end of year audit has been completed and your prior treasurer has handed off all the books, it's all been wrapped up nice and tidy, hopefully for you, it's time for the new board to set up your accounts with the new officers or the new check signers. Every bank is different, so it's really advisable to call ahead and confirm what documentation you're going to need for and make an appointment to remove and add the new signers to the account. Generally, you'll need minutes that clearly and very specifically state who was elected to what position and that they're approved check signers, and state specifically what past check signers by name and position are to be removed from the accounts. Just want to make it super clear, your secretary may not be a check signer. Your bylaws should spell out which are the required check signers, who can be a check signer. So always rely on your bylaws for that information. While you're at the bank, I recommend that you update the name, and this might be called something different, or your bank may not have it, but I ran across this, your online administrator. Turns out when I was the treasurer for another school, the treasurer that had been treasurer like 3 or 4 years ago was still the online administrator. So I had some issues setting up the mobile app. But so I just recommend when you go in and get the check signers set up, ask questions. Make sure the treasurer, you as treasurer, are the online administrator or whatever the lead is on the account. Some of your units may have savings accounts or other types of asset accounts. Please make sure that you update those accounts with the current officer names and contact information. An officer who is not a check signer is required to review and sign the bank statement. We can talk a little bit about this more, but I'll just talk about it now just in case. This is something new. I kind of knew about it last year, but it's actually a little bit more detailed. That secretary, or usually it could be the secretary, but you need to have a non-check signer review the bank statement. You cannot open the bank statement. You can't be the first one to open it. So I recommend when you go into the bank, maybe you have your secretary come with you and you set up a view-only login for them, because this is required by our insurance, actually, I believe. Mm-hmm. To do. So we'll talk a little bit more about it later, I believe. Oh no, it's here on this slide, sorry. Definitely. The recommendations are that you have the bank statement mailed to the school address. Now we're in this time where I think all in PTSD, they're telling us we can't come to the school site. But in an ideal world, after COVID, you have your bank statement mailed to the school, and then the secretary picks it up, or the non-check signer picks it up, and they review it, see if there's any red flags, and they wet sign it and date it and hand it off to you. Now, if you can't go to the school, you can set up a PO box, which I understand might cost some money. If you that's the next ideal situation during these times. The other one would be to ask your non-check signer if they're willing to have the bank statements mailed to their home address. And no paper statement, that's where I mentioned you can have a view-only login. Don't let them have access to all the account deposits or making, be able to take out money. Just a view only of the bank statement. And then they would print it and sign it, date it, and give it to you. Did I catch it all, Sochi?
Yes, and while your non-check signer is opening up that bank statement, they need to do a 5-minute review. That means it's just a quick overlook. You're making sure that there's deposit as a secretary. Now, ideally, it would be your secretary. That person is looking to make sure that their deposits are being done timely. So if you had a fall festival on the 28th of October, the 29th would be a deposit. If not, then let me just backtrack a little bit. Their money is not allowed to go home. It is not allowed to go to anybody's house or stay in the car or any other place other than the school campus and the bank. So if you can't take the deposit directly to the bank that same evening, or then you need to leave it in the school safe overnight or over the weekend until someone can take it. Now, you as a treasurer do not have to do the deposits alone. You can assign someone else on your board to do it. So like I said, this 5-minute review, you make sure that the deposits are done in a timely manner, that checks are being cleared, and that there's no withdrawals, no cash withdrawals or transfers between accounts. There are some units that have savings accounts or IRA accounts or any of those type, that there are no transfers at all. The only way money can leave your account is through a paper check.
This is really just to protect you and your fellow officers, because you're, as a board, will be held liable if anything goes awry. That's why it states here it's an insurance requirement.
So like I was saying, PTA money may not go home. Please, please, please make sure that it doesn't go into anyone's home, because we don't want to have that temptation of impropriety. And Angie talked about a little bit about online access. So your check signers and your non-check signer may only have view-only access to your accounts. They cannot transfer money. They cannot withdraw check, withdraw cash. Deposits need to be made they may be made in a night deposit box. You just have to make arrangements with your bank to have them send you the receipt of deposit mailed to you or emailed to you, so you have proof. You can make mobile deposits right now during this pandemic. National PTA is allowing treasurers to make mobile deposits. That's where you have an app on your phone, you take a picture of it, and you deposit it directly into your account. You save those paper checks in your binder. I would suggest that you black out any account information, those little numbers at the bottom of the check. So in case your binder gets lost or stolen, they don't have that additional information of your check people that are giving you checks. You can also, I don't know if your bank will do this, but you can make ATM deposits only. You cannot have a card that has a logo on it that lets you make purchases, or a credit card attached to your accounts. I totally skipped over digital signatures, and I apologize. Digital signatures, during this pandemic, they are acceptable. You can have forms that are being filled out. that such as the whistleblower form or your workers' comp, or what's the other one? There
Well,
were
I mean,
three.
you have payment requests have to be signed and all,
So, so, so during this time, you need to have a wet signature on these forms. So with a real pen and a real piece of paper, have them sign it. But it can be scanned or photographed and emailed to you as a treasurer. So you can put it into your binder. You will eventually need to get the original forms, but for now, during this time, since we're doing contactless, that's acceptable. Like I said, financial documents do need a wet signature, and maintain your digital copies on a flash drive or on a separate device other than your computer, so it can go from treasurer to treasurer. Okay, now we talked about deposits. Hit the enter button, Angie.
well, oh, you want me to show
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
okay. Oh, yeah,
No credit cards, no debit cards can access PTA funds.
Yes.
And then reconciling bank statements. You want to make sure that you reconcile those every month, every single month, as soon as someone opens it, within a couple of days. You don't want them to sit and pile up, for 2 or 3 months before you can do that. And reconciling just means that the deposits that you made are actually accounted for in your statement. Reconcile, review, date it, and sign it by a non-check signer. So there's 2 pair of eyes on that document. And it is an insurance requirement. If
Yeah.
these procedures are not followed and you need to put a claim into your insurance company, it may not be accepted because they were not followed.
Yeah, I just learned of this through Sochi, and I went to a finance Q&A for PTA last night, and yeah, not something I ever did. But apparently, like, your bank statements might have a little area where you as treasurer can do the reconciliation. I guess it's just like balancing your checkbook back in the day. I know I used to do that all the time. But and then if you use like a program like PTAs to do your accounting, I guess that form is in there for you. So that makes it easy. And yeah, once you reconcile, you have to have the non-check signer review your reconciliation and sign and stamp it. So.
Kira, I'm going to just quickly answer this. Yes, the person who is reviewing your statement can be the one who signs for the reconciliation.
Okay, yeah. All right, so what is in the treasurer's binder? Some of you may need a file box in addition to a binder, but if you have a pretty modest operating budget, I have found like a 3-inch binder works really well. In it, you should have the following items: your PTSA's calendar of events for the year. Always nice to have ready for easy reference. Your unit's bylaws. Make sure you have a copy that is the signed and approved bylaws, and get familiar with these bylaws. There's a lot of useful information in it. A copy of this year's insurance guide, and I understand they're not necessarily mailing those this year to the officers, but you can go on CAPTA's website and request it, I believe. Or they may be mailing it. I'm not totally sure. We'll let you know. I like to keep multiple copies of the forms that we use throughout the year, like the cash verification form. I think these are handy to have, right? The front of your binder, and like sleeve protectors. And a letter of determination is handy for some of the fundraisers, possibly for grants you apply for. Some people require it before they'll approve whatever you want to do with them. It just verifies your nonprofit status. I'm guessing probably a lot of you don't have that. I know I never saw it in my prior units, but it is something you can request. You can send a request to council, and we will send the request up the chain to get it for you. Bank statements, like we said, copies of all your monthly bank statements that have been signed and dated by the non-check signer should be in your binder. You may have other account statements such as Totem, PayPal, Amazon Smile, or other asset accounts that you will need to have a record of their monthly transactions. Agendas are not really required for your audits, but it's always nice to have them in your binder as a reference and another backup record. Minutes are required of your audits, and these should be the final minutes that have been signed and dated by your secretary. Minutes are to reflect any and all changes about money and checks written, accounts paid, checks canceled, any money transactions. Make sure you repeat those during your meetings so your secretary can get those specific items noted. The budget, once you've completed it, it's been edited as necessary and approved by the association, it is signed and dated by the treasurer and kept in the binder for reference. That doesn't mean it won't change later. You might have revisions, just always make sure you have the revised copy in your binder. Treasurer reports, and I'll just clarify, revisions that are approved by your board and association. Treasurer reports you'll be doing them every month for both your executive board and for your association, and those are to reflect everyday activity, the date of the last report to your current date, and the trick is to not miss a single day between reports for the association or the executive meetings. Now, I put this as a question last night to the state PTA, and I was confused. Like, is this report supposed to be like January 1st to January 31st? Or is it supposed to be from your association meeting to your next association meeting? And she said, the state PTA officer said that it should be ideally from the date of your meeting to the next meeting. So that's what your report should reflect. You can do it the other way. She felt the other way was more complicated, and it doesn't give your board or your association like that day of the month, like when they're in the meeting, it doesn't give them like where you stand at that very moment. So I recommend going from your meeting date to meeting date with those reports. Annual financial report. I like to keep a copy of the prior report in my binder for reference, but before you turn over your books to the auditor for your final audit, like after you've gone through a year, you need to prepare your annual financial report. And then you hand it all off to the auditor for the final end-year audit. But this report will be presented to the new board and association at your first meeting of the year. So if you guys are new, any of you are new treasurers, your prior treasurer's report, you will be presenting it to the board and the association. It will give everyone a snapshot into what worked and what didn't in terms of budgeting, as well as document the funds and the balance at hand. Taxes. The treasurer is responsible for filing all the unit taxes. They need to be completed prior or by November 15th. They include federal and state, and the forms you will use will depend on your operating budget, but like Sochi said earlier, we're gonna have a separate meeting, so you'll get instructions and the list of all the forms that PTAs use. Your charitable trust form that needs to be completed for the Office of Attorney General, for which there is a new form that also needs to be completed this year for units making under 50,000, and we'll give you more information about that. Completing the taxes will be, I just want to take a moment to say it feels very intimidating. I know I was very intimidated by it, but it's really just a matter of sitting down with all your tax ID information and your annual report from the prior year and a bit of time, and you just complete it all online for the most part. The Office of Attorney General is a form you have to fill out and mail, but everything else is online. And yes, we'll be dedicating in a separate meeting to walk you through that, so stay tuned for an invitation. Audits need to be in your binder. There's 2 required every year. Keep the final ones that have been adopted by your board and association in the binder. And then we talked about bank reconciliations earlier. Those should be in there, as well as a checkbook with a checkbook register. And it may feel redundant, but I asked this of the state PTA officers last night. You definitely also need a ledger. A ledger allows you to see detailed transactions, whereas your checkbook register is just going to be like your quick notes about what check you wrote, what deposit you made. And The ledger is going to have something that you'll you put inputting that information from the register into, as well as like all your totem transactions, Amazon Smile. So it's really necessary. And if you do use a program like PTEZ, it's all sort of, it almost makes it like one and the same. So it may not feel as redundant, but you do have both. Let's see, where am I? Deposit records. I usually have a tab for all deposits, and you make sure all the deposit transactions have cash verification form associated with it with all the proper signatures. You'll have your payments tab with all your payment records. Make sure the payment transactions have a payment authorization form attached to it with all of receipts, and make sure that person who requested that payment filled it out completely, signed and dated it. And you'll also be using a unit remittance form for your membership dues that you'll be mailing to me as the council treasurer. Another form that maybe your president will take care of, but it's nice to have them collected in a centralized location like the treasurer's binder, is the conflict of interest and whistleblower forms. They're required by nonprofit law. You just have all your officers complete it. And finally, we are required to file a workers' compensation form every year in January. And it's very simple to do if you haven't paid anybody to be an employee of the unit. But just learned last night again that if you're paying a tax preparer to do your taxes for the year, you do need to note them on your workers' compensation form and attach their insurance form, I guess it is. But yeah, if you actually pay teachers to babysit, then you need to include that in your workers' compensation form. All right, now Sochi is going to take on the next slide. How to prepare for a meeting.
So these are just some of the things that you should have in your binder already as you're preparing for your meeting. So you want to have your financial reports. Now the annual report is just a record of facts from the previous year. It's done once a year. And then you have your, what happened? There we go. You have your, so just have that one in your binder. Again, for reference, you're going to have a mid-year and a year-end audit from the previous year until you get your new ones for this year. Now the mid-year is on the last day, it goes until the last day of December as well. I'm so sorry. As well as the year-end audit after the 30th of June. You're going to have information from the different committees for fundraisers and programs. You have your budget. The budget is the one, your original budget that you had adopted at the beginning of the year at your first association meeting, and keep copies of that original budget because it will change from month to month or quarter to quarter depending on your unit's needs. So keep a running copy of that with the different changes. You're going to have a list of the checks that you need to ratify and a list of funds that need to be released for this coming month. If you know you have a program that's coming up and you need your committee chair to have an advance to purchase the apples for, whatever event, that needs to be done ahead of time. Just from previous experience as a treasurer, please, please, please do not have someone come 2 days ahead of your event saying, oh, I forgot I needed this money for this XYZ supplies, and you give them a check. It's not fair to you at all. You're not going to carry around your treasurer checkbook, your association's checkbook, in the back of your car. If tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have the checks with me right now. Did you put in a request form, an advance request form? Otherwise, please upfront the money, fill out a reimbursement form completely, and then I will be happy to give you a check. Otherwise, thank you so much for your donation. That's just it. I know you guys all laugh, but we've all been there. And we'll go into that in a little bit. Also, your treasurer's report. In your treasurer's report, like Angie said, you don't want to miss a day. If your last report ended on the 15th of the month, then your next report starts on the 16th of the month. You don't want more than just a couple hours of difference, because then that leaves you open to someone giving you the side eye and maybe suggesting some impropriety, which I know does not happen within our units, right? And in your treasurer's report, you need an accounting of every bank account you have. If you just have the one checking account, great. You need the activity that goes on in there. But if you have savings accounts or IRAs or whatever, your PayPals, your Squares, everything that has to do with money with your unit, you need a report for. You want all the receipts and expenditures stapled together. Again, I'm going to reiterate, if no one gives you a form that's completely filled out with the receipts, then you just thank them for their donation. That's very generous of them. Have your balance reports and minutes with you, and the minutes, again, it'll be the ones that are signed by the secretary. And just a reminder again, those signed minutes with corrections are legal documents, and they must state what is going on with your finances of your unit. You are not allowed to make executive decisions by yourself or with your board without the authorization of your members. You also want to have the checks that need to be ratified that have been written, so there is an accounting of it in your minutes. Angie? It's alive. What's alive, you're asking? Well, it's going to be your budget. Your unit's budget is definitely a living document. It will change sometimes month to month, like I said, sometimes quarter, and sometimes you won't have much of a budget. Now, you are the budget committee. You are the finance committee chair. And the president-elect appoints your committee, and sometimes it could just be a committee of one, and sometimes it'll be a committee of three or five. It has to be an odd number, because if there has to be a tiebreaker, you have that number of people. It cannot be an even number of members. You are the treasurer-elect, so you chair the committee. You are in charge of the financial plan, and that's with everybody's input, and you want to have new and old goals. So what changes, what did you do last year that worked? Great, follow it up if you want to this year. If not, then change it up and make it your own. Every year is different. Help make it different and unique for your year, for this year, especially this year. This year, you guys need to just think out of the box all the way. Have your proposed budget, especially coming into your first association meeting. Get the wish list from everybody that has a goal for your unit. You want to buy a new marquee for your school? Well, how much is it going to cost? What kind of things are you thinking of doing with your fundraiser person to get to that goal? And then once you get with your association and you go over the budget, then you can pare it down to something a little more realistic if it's really high in the sky goals. Budget your timeline. So you know that you have this wonderful budget that you're just dying to put into place, but you need the money for it. So go about seeing what was done last year. Look what happened at the last meeting of the year, that last working budget, your budget to actuals. That means what you budgeted for and what you actually spent or did not spend. So compare those two, see how much your summer funds were released. During the summer, we had to buy at Longfellow. Now, I was Longfellow for 10 years, so there's a lot of stories that I'm going to share this year, okay? So we had, over the summer, we released at the end of the last meeting in June or May, depending on when the school ended, we released $50 to $100 because we knew we were going to buy, as a unit, the plastic Ziploc bags for the emergency information packets for the school. So that we knew we needed $50 for that, and we released those funds so one of the volunteers can go buy it. So make sure that you have, when you're doing that you're releasing your funds, that you know who you're going to give the advance to, what it's being spent on, and that it is reflected in your minutes. Keep your revised budget. I already mentioned it. You start off with your initial budget, and as it changes, just keep those copies, because at the end of the year, you're going to want to compare the first budget to the last budget. That's it. And at the minimum, update your budgets every quarter. Now, who monitors the budget? Everybody does. Everybody monitors the budget. Everybody is responsible for the money that comes and goes out of your unit. You as a treasurer are in charge of all of it, but you need to delegate as much as you can because it just cannot fall on you. Angie? Everything you wanted to know about the budget. Yes, have your pencils ready. Angie, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so the elements of your budget, you'll have a line item for your carryover funds for the audit, and these are the funds that are left over from the prior year. You'll have your income, all those items. You'll be like this will be your header with the list of items that you're proposing to raise money for, or how you're going to be raising those money items. You'll have funds not belonging to the unit, and that income would be like your membership dues that you need to pass up the chain to council and state. It could be like a book fair money funds. So you want to keep those separate so it doesn't get confusing. Like you'll have your $5.50 per member on this line item, but whatever the remainder is of your total membership dues will be in your income line item. Your expenses, what you are proposing to spend money on throughout the year, whatever programs you want to sponsor. Your carryover for the next year's board. This is important that you make sure you have money that the next year's board can use as startup funds. And I think this is an item that you really need to consider this year because there's so many unknowns. We don't know how membership's going to go. We don't know how our fundraising is going to go. So I think this is a year to be conservative and make sure you have funds for the next year's board. And then you may have a line item that's called unallocated funds. You're not sure how you want to spend all the money that you plan on raising. So you have this line item, and throughout the year, if something comes up, there's a request from staff or a member of your association has a great idea you want to make happen, then you can approve as a board and association how to allocate those funds. And then, of course, the funds not belonging to the unit, your expenses. So membership dues coming in and membership dues going up the chain, those are in those line items.
If I can interject real quick, yes. Angie, I want to go back to carry over for next year's board. You do want to be conservative. The best practice is you do 10%. See, I've got my notes here to make sure I have it correct. You don't want to carry over more than 10% of your budget. And at the very, very maximum is do not carry over more than 2 years worth of average expenses.
Yeah, these are just guidelines. There's no rule for this, but this is
a guideline. And again,
IRS, I believe.
If you have some crazy amount, just a crazy amount, you can allocate some of those funds as a charitable donation to another organization or even to your school. But that is just if you have some crazy amount. And like Angie said, we want to be conservative this year because we really just don't know how fundraising is going to be for the different schools because everything right now is contactless and online. And we're thinking out of the box.
All right. So with your income, when you're having an event, you can have a cash box, but you can't keep petty cash in a cash box somewhere at your house throughout the year. You can, like we said earlier, there should never be any PTA cash funds at your house. It always has to go back to the bank. So if you have an event where you need a cash box, you write a check to the fundraising chair, they go and cash that check so we know who is pulling money out of the bank account. It's a record. And then they use that money they put it on a separate cash verification form. At the end of the day, you pull that money out from the event, and it's, you know, goes with that separate cash verification form. And your funds that you raised, your profits, are on the other cash verification form, and everything gets redeposited back into the bank. You can, if you are willing, to just fund the cash box yourself and then pull that money out. But, you know, I would also recommend filling out the form, making sure a few of your other officers see what you're doing, that they count the money as well, and make sure things on the up and up. Yeah, I mentioned use the cash verification forms. And 2 people at the end of the event are, at a minimum, should be counting the funds that were raised. The treasurer can be one of those 2 people.
Oh, the treasurer is the one who takes it at the end.
Yeah, but I did ask it at the meeting last night, and they said that it could be, the treasurer can be one of those 2 people that counts it. But yes, we do take the money at the end too. And then you deposit the monies immediately. And if you can't, you should maybe try to set up, you know, talk to your school sites now and ask them, do you have a safe on site? I mean, I don't know if this issue is going to come up this year, but during the school year when we're in person, you want to know, is there safe? We can keep the money. It's late. The event went late. Can we just keep it in the safe, and I'll come back tomorrow, pick it up, and go straight to the bank. And as always, maintain a paper trail of everything. Your counters, like the 2 people who count the money, I would give them a copy, or they should make, or if it's separate from you, they should make a copy of that cash verification form for their records before they hand it off to you.
They can take a picture of it as well.
Yeah. And again, PTA money must not go home. Do you have anything else to add, Sochi? Or?
Nope, we're good.
Right. So this is what the cash verification form looks like. And we have the link on our presentation here that you can pull up from CAPTA and make your prints of. But any monies you receive, as well as checks, you document it on this form. Fill it all out, and then the 2 people who who counted the money, sign it on this corner. I'm sorry, do you guys see that pop up in the way? This little thing that keeps popping up. But as long as you can see on the left, the counters sign it, and then the treasurer, when they receive it, and recount it and sign it as well. Oh,
So go back for one.
Sorry. I didn't mean to do
I just want to, the cash verification form, it needs to be, all the money needs to be counted. Every single penny, every single dollar bill, every single check that you receive also needs to be annotated. Yes. So make sure that you keep your copy to yourself. As a treasurer, you keep it in your binder as a record, but also do not keep this form along with the money. They need to be in 2 separate spots. Or you can make the extra copy and put the copy with the money till you get the deposit back, and then you can shred it, because you'll have the original with the wet signatures and the deposit slip attached to it into your binder.
And don't think you're being rude to your fellow counter or taking up too much time by double counting what they just counted. This is your job. And people, we all make mistakes. So this process ensures that we are always accurate. Yeah, great. I think we've got it all there, right? Mm-hmm. Sochi?
So this payment authorization form, I mentioned earlier that if this is what someone fills out if they want an advance or they want to be reimbursed, but you cannot give anyone a check until your association approves it. So your chairs and whoever is being reimbursed, they need to think a little bit ahead, because you don't want them handing this to you at the last minute, right before funds are needed, while you're walking down the hallway as you're dropping off your kindergartner. That's not fair to you. It's not a wise use of your time. And you do need to set boundaries. Seriously, just like we do with our kids, you need to set it with fellow parents, because sometimes us fellow parents aren't thinking, and we just want things right now, and that's not how we're going to work, because that's when mistakes are made. So like I said, make sure that this is completely filled out before someone hands it to you. If they want reimbursements, receipts need to be attached before they hand it to you. The form must be signed with the receipts. Otherwise, if they lost the receipts, now this happened to me once, and I had to very gently tell my mom that wanted $100 worth of receipts given to her, a check reimbursed, but she didn't have the receipts. I had to very gently tell her, thank you so much for your donation, and you need to stick to your guns, because it only takes one time for someone to make an not budgeted donation before they start keeping all those receipts. Like we mentioned before, you can't give out funds without authorization, and those authorizations need to be in your minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just at the bottom where it's circled, there's actually a
Oh, yeah.
box for your secretary to verify when in the minutes this item was approved for disbursement, or whatever the word is, and your president also needs to sign and date this form.
There's also a spot for where it is on your line item, how much it was budgeted, how much is left over from that budgeted item. It's very detailed.
Yeah.
So please make sure you take a look at it.
I think Sochi, you have this one.
Great. So you want some money? I cannot express how much is like, thank you for your donation. It will be your favorite term for quite a little while. But humor does go a long way. It offers someone who wants reimbursement but can't produce the receipts. Ask them to look through their car again, look through their purse again, you know, through their pockets, their wallets. Make sure they make some kind of an effort for of receipts. Even we've had at Longfellow, we've had someone come with their credit card statements, black everything out and just circle that one item. That would be acceptable as long as you write something on there, sign it as the treasurer, and have your secretary sign it as well. Because then that could become a somewhat of receipt and proof that there was a purchase. If these things are not followed, these policies are not followed, and you have to place a claim for something completely different, your insurance may not cover it. Because if theoretically, if you're not doing this part of it, what makes them think that you're doing the bigger part of it, of following the rules? Let's see, electronic payments. You may not use credit cards, you may not use debit cards, nothing that will pull money out of the fund, out of your PTA funds. You can, though, use the bill paying service from your bank. You just need to make sure that that's how you set it up, and that they email you a receipt, or even snail mail it to you is fine, as long as there's a paper trail that you are paying a bill with their services. There is a fee, I believe, in most banks, so you need to call and find out for sure. There are no large financial processes going on with that account. You cannot, as your secretary or whoever's your non-check signer is looking at your statement, there better not be some kind of crazy deposit or withdrawal, crazy withdrawal or transfer. Like, you know, as a treasurer, you should have about $5,000 in that account, and all of a sudden you have 500. Something happened. You need to make sure that there's no big changes, unless it's something like you have to pay the book fair, or you need to pay a vendor for your fall festival, or something like that. Nothing unexpected. And there is definitely no person-to-person money exchanging through apps. You can't pay Angie, like, Angie, I'm going to give you my pay you through PayPal for my membership, and Angie pays for membership on my behalf. No. You have to have someone give you a check or cash. Of course, you're counting it, and there goes a cash verification form with all the authorizing signatures, or even a money order. We can go really old school and accept money orders, but there is no person-to-person money exchanging for something for the PTA. And just for you youngins who have never written a check, I want to quickly review how to write a check. So there is 2 signatures on the checks, and you just separate the signatures with a slash through it. Now, I will tell you the check the check may be cashed at the bank with just 1 signature, but our insurance requires that there are 2 signatures on that check. Again, if you place a claim and there are not 2 signatures, when they're auditing your books, it may be denied. Okay, go ahead, Angie. Write out who you're paying the check to, complete name and or the company. Go ahead and write out the numbers. Make sure those numbers are legible when you're putting in the amount, and then you're going to write out in words with the correct spelling where it's the dollar line. Write in your memo line what these funds are for. That way you can go back, look online, and you can see, in case you forgot to write it down in the checkbook register, you can go back online, look at the image and say, oh yeah, that was for the fall festival. And just, okay. You will receive an insufficient funds check. That's a return check. You will get it. So just sometime in your treasurer career. So it's a little embarrassing for the payee to do it. Just contact them and gently remind them, hey, you know this, we got this back. When can we get the cash for it or a money order for it? Can you also add the bank fees to it? Usually it's $25 to $35 and they're responsible for it. You talk about insufficient funds that you receive at your board meetings in a closed session. This is not for public knowledge. You want to keep your members' privacy as much as you can, especially when it's something, and we've all been there, we have all bounced a check at one time or another. When you are doing your books, you put the insufficient check, it goes into the negative column of your income account. And then when you receive it, it goes back into the income account and then the negative or positive line on your expense. We can go into that in more detail later because it is a little confusing. Go ahead, Angie.
All right, moving on to membership. Depositing and sending payments to council for membership dues will probably be your most regular task of treasurers. Try to train yourself to make it a monthly task that you complete at your board meeting, since you will need the 2 check signers. Maybe you have a socially distant coffee right now with your fellow check signer and the day before your board meeting, whatever works for you, but try to be consistent. I also recommend that your membership chair connects with you monthly to confirm that your membership totals for that month match. It's very easy for data inputting mistakes to be made, and no one should take this personally. It happens, but better to do it monthly than to find out at the end of the year things are not matching, right? As it states on the slide, you do not need membership approval to pay council, district, state, and national PTA dues. $5.50 per capita per member is what goes up the chain, and you can see at the bottom here, 50 cents goes to PTA council, 75 cents to first district, $2 to the state, and $2.25 to national PTA. If you are using Totem, which I highly recommend as it can make life so much easier for treasurers, you do not need to worry about cutting a check for those memberships on that platform, as Totem does all the work for us, and they transfer the transfers of the money are directly to those separate accounts. And lastly, in order to remain as a unit in good standing, you must submit payment for at least 15 memberships by October 31st. This is the unit remittance form that you will use when you're submitting your per capita per member memberships to council. And I can provide you with my address in the chat after we're done here, and I'll also be emailing it to you all, but you just mail this form completely filled out with your check. And make sure you give me all your contact information. I'm not sure that everyone's contact info is on PTEZ yet, so make sure you completely fill out the form. And then I'll pass it up to the proper channels. There's the link to the form, and yes, insurance. On your first, when you first use this form, you can put your 50 members that you had sign up, your insurance payment, and your $25 counsel fee. You can put those all on one form and write you one check. Please don't, well, not to me, but to counsel, please do not send me 3 different checks for those items. It just makes it a little easier if it's all in one check for me. And fresh off the presses, insurance this year did increase. I think we're going to talk about it later though, but it's $258 for unit insurance this year. And yeah, you need to get it to us by October 31st. I talked about totem. Well, yeah, I don't know if, yeah, 258 is what your insurance will be. And I think the state will be sending out that notice to everyone as well. All right. Fun stuff, Sochi.
Yes, so the fun stuff. We like to have raffles and casino nights and serve alcohol at all of our events, correct? No, that's just me. Fine. So let me get my notes to make sure I give you the correct information. Raffles. We can have raffles, but there are 2 different types of raffles. The first one is a legal raffle. That is where money is exchanged in order to have the opportunity to win a prize. Whether it's an item or money, that is a legal raffle. The opportunity drawing is you just walk into the room and you have a chance to win something. And no money is exchanged at all. Now, I had a question yesterday where it is going to be an incentive for their member their member drive, where they are automatically with their membership, with their paid membership, they are entered into a drawing to win. I'm not sure what it was. Yes, that is fine because they are paying for membership. They are not paying for the opportunity to win something. So that is the opportunity drawing, and that you can do. The legal raffle, where money is exchanged, and I apologize for repeating this over and over, but just to make sure that it is very clear, where the legal raffle is where money is exchanged and you're paying for the opportunity to win an item or money that you need to have a permit for. You need to have a registration, send in the registration form to the California Attorney General. It's about $20 or $25 fee. It is non-refundable. You also are going to need to provide your charitable trust number and the current status of your PTA unit. That's why you want to make sure that you are in good standing And also the California Attorney General is going to ask that you submit a report at the end of your fiscal year. Your report needs to include how many raffles you held that year, what it was for, and more details. And there's, we'll put a link up, I think, at the beginning of the slides, where you'll have the link to the California Attorney General's website, and it'll have more information. There is a FAQ there that will answer a lot of your questions. Nonprofits can conduct raffles with the permit, but they cannot have those raffles within 60 days of the Attorney General receiving your application. You have to have that. So you can't decide as a unit, oh, we're going to have it in 2 weeks when we have our fall festival. That will be a no-no. And this isn't just a PTA rule. It is a law, a California state law, and that goes up to the IRS. Okay, so your raffles, after those 60 days, you can have 1 raffle or you can have 15 raffles, but you just need to make sure that you document it, document all the details for that particular raffle so you can send it in with your report at the end of the year. And just as an FYI, 50/50 raffles are not, and I repeat, not legal in California. The raffle rules are that it has to be a 90-10 rule. So you cannot get more than 10% to run the raffle. That has to be the operating cost. It can't be more than 10%. So 90% has to go to the nonprofit organization or whatever organization you're giving it to. Casino nights. Again, you also need a permit to have it. Nonprofits can do one once a year. So if you're going to have a casino night, make it worth your while, because with your registration, there is $100 non-refundable fee, whether they accept it or not. You need to also give them your charitable trust number and remain in good standing with with the national PTA. Okay, alcohol. We all love a little alcohol. We're having some fun, but again, you need to register with the state. It's a $100 fee for it, and this applies to selling alcohol at an event or at an auction. Alcohol in your auction baskets, and if you're just serving it at your event. So if you're selling it, you're auctioning it off, or you're serving it, you do need a permit for it. There's a huge list in regulation, so I don't know if your unit would want to go through that, but it is there for your information. Preparing for your audit, just tie up some loose ends as your year ends. And there is going to be, like I said, a training at one of our council meetings for that your auditors and your treasurers are invited to. It will be more in depth. It is not scary. And we will be there to hold your hand and pat you on the back so you can do this properly. Filing your taxes, same thing. We'll have a training for it, and nobody bites. If you make a mistake, it's fixable. Go ahead, Angie.
My PTEZ, formerly known as PTAEZ, is your friend. I think the biggest hangup for most units is they don't remember their login information, or they never had a login. If this is you, just please let us know, shoot me an email, we'll get you all set up. The president and treasurer should both have access to my PTEZ. The president uploads the current board's contact information onto this site at the beginning or at the end of last year, fiscal year, while the treasurer is responsible for uploading the following forms: the workers' compensation payroll report, the mid-year audit, your FTB, Franchise Tax Board 199 or 199N form for the state, your annual financial report, your year-end audit, your IRS 990 forms, your budget, the approved budget, and the RRF1 for the Attorney General. And now this year, I think it's called the CTTF1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. For those units that make under 50,000, you have to do both forms. And in regards to those forms, they always have to be filled out by hand and mailed. I guess units that make over 50,000, they attach their copy of their taxes to it. So now those units that make under 50,000, you have to also attach this extra form. So I think it's because they've added it because the IRS, the 990 postcard form is too minimal for the Attorney General. They want to see more information. So that's why that got added. Making sure you keep detailed records of all these forms in PDF format. That's how you're going to have to upload it. And always upload them to My PTEZ as they're completed. Will make life so much easier for you and the officers that follow you. I think so many of our units have gotten letters from the IRS or the Attorney General, like there's threats of revoking your nonprofit status, and you're like, why? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I had no clue, but this could be from like 4 years ago. Someone has finally dug something up or sees that there's an error. So making sure those documents are saved on My PTEZ will save you and hopefully resolve any issues that come up. Another service that My PTEZ offers is an accounting program, and I'm going to do it. At the end of this month. I'm going to get the unit I'm working for on it, as well as counsel. So I don't have a lot of experience with it quite yet, but the advantages of using My PTEZ for your accounting is that it's all saved on the cloud on their platform. So for your future officers that come in, it's just like it's all there. No one's having to track anything down. And I'm hearing it's very user-friendly forms. and it takes out the guesswork and any assumptions. Everything's all set up for you. Just plug in your numbers. And the fee for this program is annual and based on your unit's operating budget. But from what I can tell so far, it's pretty reasonable. Dochi?
So we gave you a lot of information. We summed it up. There were three webinars that the California State PTA put together a couple of weeks ago, and between Angie and I, we listened to all of them, watched all of them, and participated in all of them. I went as far as to listening to them on in my car as I was running errands, because I wanted to make sure I was knowledgeable as we shared our information with you, along with the handout. And I will be very transparent, as I was creating these slideshow today, I pulled almost all of it from CAPTA. So very transparent, and that's one of our mottos, right? We just want to be transparent to all of our units. But look through them, listen to them. They have a lot more detail, and they're also, we gave you links to, at the beginning of the slideshow, for more resources. There's a lot of frequently asked questions on those websites as well. And please give us a call, email us, text us. We don't bite. We're friendly here. There's all of our current boards. We do have 2 vacancies right now for parliamentarian and auditor. So please, if you're interested and want to get some more experience with the council, you're more than welcome to. I also got a text message right now from Allison, our president, and she wants to make sure that you are aware that our next council meeting is on August 24th at 6:30 p.m. There will be all kinds of information right now through there, especially with our times that we're changing. We're really trying to, as a council, support you as officers and support all of our units to see how we can help our parents, especially right now with online learning. We did offer, or we are offering, which registration is closed, so I'm sorry about that, but our Canvas training through we facilitated with the staff at PUSD. That's going to be on Friday, which tomorrow's Friday. Yep, tomorrow. And they're also, there's going to be on Saturday. This is going to be the same training. Angie and I will again present it. So if there's other treasurers or auditors that were not able to come today, please encourage them to come next on Saturday. It's at 10 in the morning. But there's also going to be a question and answer portion at 12:30 for about an hour or so, and that's a good time to get some more detailed questions answered. And I think we have enough time right now to answer some of the ones that you put into the chat box.
Yeah, I just want to thank Sochi first before I forget to do it later.
I know.
Sochi put this presentation together. She's done a lot of research. So thank you. And also to our president, Allison. She has provided us some amazing leadership this year. So I think you guys are going to be really quite impressed. I think so. And yeah, in case you haven't seen it, there's our website, and you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at PTA Council of PTSD. So maybe I'll stop sharing now, Sochi.
Hold on, because I asked on Facebook for selfies while you're taking this class. So please take your selfies now, and because we want to show you off. As volunteers, we are the Uber volunteers here. You guys need your brownie points too. We want to encourage other parents who say, oh, not me, I can't do that, it's too much work. Oh no, it's too intimidating. These people are crazy, it's a cult. We are not. Okay, so please go ahead and take your selfies now. I'm going to take a quick selfie and show off my new PTA t-shirt. And whoever can grab a screenshot, please do so, because my computer is not a nice one.
I'll do one when we stop sharing.
All right, let's see. Ready? Big smile. All right.
Okay, let's do some Q&A. Let's look at the.
All right, let me pull up the chat. Let's start from the beginning.
Oh, and if you haven't, if you came in late, please, because we're going to save the chat as a record. If you could type your full name, your officer position, and what school you're at, I'd appreciate it.
Heidi, yes, you will get a copy of this slide presentation. Angie will email them out as soon as the recording is available. We do have a YouTube channel that we're putting together, so it'll be available on that as well as our website. Please don't be shy. If you have questions, please ask them as I'm going down this.
Kira asked, do you need to bring a copy of the bylaws as well? I'm assuming you're meaning to the bank when you go to have the check signers. I've never had to, but is it advisable, so Chief?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You want as much documentation to prove your stuff as you can. And even if you over prepare, it's better than not being prepared at all.
And Kira also asked, can the person who looks at the monthly statement also, oh yeah, you answered this, right?
Yes.
Yes, that is.
Yes,
true.
Kira, any member can be the counter as long as they are a PTA member of your unit. Any parent that is walking by, just grab them if they've got 5 minutes, because the more eyes and hands that count that money, the better it is for everybody.
I'm gonna get that ATM deposit question, Sochi.
What? Okay, let's see.
How
can we make an ATM deposit if we do not have a card? So there are cards available depending on your bank. There are just ATM deposit cards available, but you have to check with your bank. Not all banks are created equal. Sorry.
Alvin, you had a question about that, Alvin?
No, our bank, Wells Fargo, was able to issue me a deposit-only ATM card. I just make sure I get a receipt, and then, yeah.
Thank you, Alvin. Let's see. Amy, is that right? Annie?
Annie.
To confirm, we can set up our annual QuickBooks fee electronically from our checking account.
Yeah, so on our QuickBook, we have an annual fee that we have to pay. So in the past, one of the faculties have paid for it, and then they'll submit a reimbursement form, and then I cut a check for it. But is there a reason why I can't have it set up where the QuickBook fee gets drafted from our checking account? Kind of like any fees, like when we pay for our checkbooks, they just kind of charge our account, so that it's always tied to the bank and to the PTA as opposed to an individual. Because if that person leaves, it just becomes a problem.
Right. You can just have it. Use your bill paying service at your bank. Yes. And as long as it's in your minutes that is approved by your association, you should be fine. Also, you might want to write somewhere on your report, your budget or your report, where it's constant and it will follow it through the year. So it's not just you that knows that this is happening in your account, but also the future treasurers and auditors and presidents know that this is part, because you don't want it to automatically come out of your account and nobody knows why.
Right, understood. I mean, because that's kind of the same with some of the deposits that are made too, right? Like Amazon Smile and things like that.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know, Kitty mentioned this at our president's meeting. There is, in an ideal world, we are supposed to keep a separate account for Amazon Smile, Totem.
Yes.
Those monies that are transferred into our account. So I don't know if a payment is different than those deposits coming in.
No, they're different. It's different.
Okay.
It's a different.
Technically, you guys are supposed to set up a separate account where the automatic transfers happen for Totem and Amazon Smile or PayPal, because we don't want, I guess, God forbid, those accounts get hacked or somehow they get access to all of your funds. That's the fear. So that is what, I don't know if it's our insurance or PTA council wants us to do. I'll just put it out there.
It's a recommendation.
What's that?
It's a recommendation.
Well, I think it's something they would strongly encourage.
Yep.
So I have a question. So we currently have that set up at our school where it just goes into our main account. So do we need to make an appointment with the bank to change that, to create a new account? Have these things deposited?
Yeah, ideally.
Mm-hmm. And that second account will just be for anything that gets automatically deposited into your account. And then that could be automatically transferred into your checking account at the end of the month.
Okay. The bottom line, you could have like two accounts, but that are linked, but it just has different account numbers.
Yeah, you don't want all of your funds to be accessed
by a third party.
By a third party.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's
Okay,
see.
so
Angie, there's one is the P from Heidi, is there a PTEZ on an account already set up prior to the board, or do they need to create a new one?
if you don't have a login for PTAs, let me know. Send me an email and we'll get you set up. Usually, I'm not sure how it totally works because I never had a login for a while there, but First District set us up with it. You know, they'll get you set up. They'll send me your login and I'll get it to you. Okay.
Regarding forms
about, sorry.
Go ahead.
Back to the auto deposits, like if we were, like we use PayPal for swiping credit cards, should that be going into this secondary account instead of?
Ideally,
so,
yes.
So it's like a 3-step, like someone buys a t-shirt with a credit card, that PayPal money sits in the PayPal, then it's actively transferred to the savings account. And then from the savings account, you transfer it to your regular main PTA checking account.
Well,
Correct.
Yeah, this is new to me. So is that how you understand it?
Yes, that's how I understand it. And you can do it monthly where the transfers from that saving account or that second account into your main checking account. It could be done monthly or it could even be done quarterly.
Usually banks require a minimum balance, and like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I personally generated $8 for our school with Amazon Smile, but that's not going to meet a minimum balance.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. But that's something that your association, you need to discuss with your association. So just research it, present it to the board. And then at the board meetings is where you get all the nitty gritty done, all the dirty stuff out of the way. Because when you go to your when you go to your association meetings, you all want to be prepared and knowledgeable and get all the kinks out of the way so they can discuss among themselves before make a decision as a group. But yeah, sometimes there may be a minimum and you may have to allocate some of those funds so they stay in that account and not get moved.
I'm going to research this more. So I'll let you all know if I find out anything else. But,
okay. Here's another question. Regarding forms that need a wet signature, can I request the board to mail them to me? Yes, definitely. Definitely mail them to you. Will the presentation and links be available? Yes, we said they will be, and Angie will email them to you. And make sure that all of your board contact information is on my PTEZ now. So we have, so we can mail you all the stuff that you guys need. Okay, let's see. Linda has a few questions. Can I explain okay, let me go one by one. Can you explain the 3-to-1 rule? So the 3-to-1 rule is that you have 3 programs for every 1 fundraiser. Let's see, going back to Longfellow, we had a jogathon for a few years. Actually, Carolina right there, current treasurer, is the one who set it up a few years ago, and it's a big moneymaker for Longfellow PTA. So you have the jogathon. It's low cost, but it brings in a few $1,000s to your unit. That is 1 fundraiser. And with that 1 fundraiser, you have 3 programs associated to it. So you'll have, you can have a guest speaker come to talk to your school, whether it's about bike riding safety or riding safely on the metro. You can have your once a month coffee with your principal. That's another program. And you can do like a Friday night right now, virtual reading online with your principal or with one of the other staff members. That's another program. So you'll have those 3 no cost activities for your students and community and parents to the one thing that costs money to your fundraiser.
And I add to it too, because last night I learned something new that kind of blew my mind, because I know I've been taught in the past that parents want to know where their funds are being allocated to. But I was told, do not tie a fundraiser to a certain program. So the 3-to-1 rule is more like, it's a quantity. You need to have, if you have 2 fundraisers, then you have to have 6 programs that you're sponsoring with those 2 fundraisers. You don't tie them together, because say you, the jogathon, if you say, oh, we're raising money for playground equipment, but then you also are applying for a grant that funds all that playground equipment. Then you have to go back to your board and association and reallocate that jogathon money to something new. So, or, someone could question how you're using all the money. It's too particular that way, it'll cause you problems. And it's best just to tell your parents all the wonderful things you're doing. And this is what our fundraising goes towards, all these wonderful things.
So you're saying that for every fundraiser that we have, the funds that we raise need to be allocated to 3 different programs?
Don't be detailed.
Don't link them to those 3 programs. Just if you have one fundraiser for the whole year, you're going to have 3 programs that you do for free. If you have 2 fundraisers for the whole year, you're going to have 6 programs that you do for free. But
Does that need?
They don't have to be connected in any way.
So it doesn't need to be documented anywhere?
Well, this is the documentation. As we stated earlier, your minutes are the legal document. So you need to watch how you word things. And officially, we're encouraging you to be very detail oriented, but you also want to be a little ambiguous. Oh, this is what the PTA does. We reimburse teachers, once a year up to $300. So we need to fundraise for that. But we also offer Friday night reading with your favorite teacher, and we provide milk and cookies. Come in your pajamas. Also, right now we're going to pay for a virtual field trip for our whole school. We need to fundraise for that. So these are the wonderful things that are listed on your budget that we're going to do that are going to cost us money. And let's say you have 9 different things, but you only have 3 things in your income section of your budget that will pay for these 9 things.
You can still
link
something too if you want to. Like it's a big 6th grade field trip. If you want to link it, that's fine. But just make sure all the money you raise is going to that field trip. It's not going for anything else. You're not going to do anything else with that money.
We've done at Longfellow years and years ago, they used to do a coin drive. I think the last coin drive that we did, and we were asking the kids to bring just the coins that they find in their couch. And we asked for money to buy new playground toys, new balls, new hula hoops, new things, those kinds of things. And they raised almost $800, if I remember correctly. And it took us a couple years to spend it just on those things, but that's what those coins were paid for. That's what those coins paid for. Because they were raised specifically for toys for recess, and they were spent on toys for recess.
Yeah.
Does that make it a little clearer?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I don't mean to talk like for dummies, but I just want to make sure it's very, very clear.
Now, our treasurer, our previous treasurer, I haven't been able to get a hold of her. She's dealing with some a lot of family issues because of COVID. And so I'm going into this very blindly. So please bear with me.
No, Linda, that's what we are here for. And if Angie and I don't have the answers, maybe one of your co-treasurers does. So
we can get the answers.
Thank you.
Of course. And Linda, you had another one. Just to confirm, secretary cannot be a signer. The secretary cannot be a check signer. So a check signer cannot be related to anybody on the board. I lied. A check signer cannot be related to another check signer by blood, marriage, or household. Okay. But if they live somewhere else and are not related to another check signer, and the secretary cannot be a check signer because they are signing the legal minutes and all the legal documents.
You can live in the same apartment building, but you're a separate family, right? So that.
Yeah. We do not have an auditor yet. How do we assign one? That's the president. The president can assign one.
Yeah, your bylaws might define how the auditor's position comes to be. So I would look in your bylaws, but typically it is the president that appoints an auditor. And I recommend they get on it now because the mid-year audit is right after December 30th, and I'll be here before we know it. So yeah.
Can somebody else on the board be an auditor as well?
Not the treasurer. For for sure.
No, they can't hold two
But-
positions.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
But you could get a staff member to be the auditor,
So
another paying member of your membership, right?
yes, also an auditor can be a CPA.
Yeah, you could hire.
Someone who has a degree that says accounting can be your auditor, and that person who has the degree can do your audit, and it is you can do that as a budgeted item, so it is a fee that you will pay if you have, and we'll go into this a little more detail, Linda, but if you do not have a professional accountant to do your audit, you can assign or elect, depending on your bylaws, an auditor from your membership to do the audit, and then that audit will be reviewed by an audit committee of at least 3 members that are not related to the auditor.
Just learned this.
Yes, and there's a few more details on it, but there are a couple of ways that you can have your audit done.
But we're going to have a council meeting to
Yes.
go over that, right? So
Yes, of course.
let's get more on the treasurer's.
Okay, hold on. How do you handle membership envelopes?
So, well, now with this distance learning, you should definitely make sure you connect with the membership chair and the principal and find out the best way to collect cash and check membership envelopes. But so set up some sort of system where the membership chair meets the principal outside, maybe at school, picks them up. You guys go meet for coffee, count them, and then you take the money and go directly to the bank.
Yes, and you can do it all at once. You don't have to do each envelope individually and have a cash verification for each envelope. You can do them all at once.
Oh, yes.
So if I remember correctly, the envelope will have the name and all the contact information of the new member. It will say how much money for the membership and if there's any donation. So you just verify that what's in that envelope is annotated on the outside of the envelope, and you'll have someone sign it that yes, the envelope, there was $8 in there, and then you will pile, and I'm sorry, this is for dummies, pile the envelopes in one spot, have the second person count it, have that signed off too, and then once the 2 people count that what is noted on the envelope is inside the envelope, pull the 2 things apart, envelope on one side, cash on the other side, get your cash verification form, count up all the money, note all the checks that need to be deposited, and then you can have that one form signed by at least 2 different people plus the person taking the deposit, which is usually the treasurer, but it could be someone else. You can ask someone else or delegate that deposit to somebody else.
Just as a follow-up, when we're in person, this is the first year I bought one of these carbon copy receipt forms. I think it's a good idea to have these so that when we're in person, you can just hand that directly to the person who paid for their membership. I think they'll appreciate it. You can still do it remotely, but I definitely recommend your membership chair needs to follow up with a letter once membership dues have been submitted, thanking them for their membership, just confirming. I don't know if we're gonna have cards. I think like Totem they've got a cool feature where they just email you the card on your phone. So then it's just like an app that you have. If you need to use it for any of the savings you can get out there at Staples or whatnot.
I'm sorry, this is Annie. A quick question.
Yes, Annie.
So a majority of our membership is through Totem, but we did last year have a couple of envelope ones. Now, is your recommendation to add the ones that we get manually into Totem so that we have a track record of that?
Well, I heard that that's what you can do. I'm new to Totem. Sorry, but do you know Sochi? I think you can do it, and it would be advisable, right?
Yes, that way you have all your membership in one spot. And then one of the features of Totem is that you can contact current and past members via email, or I'm not sure if we could do anything else, but definitely through email.
I think you pay for that feature though.
You do pay for it, yes. So just be careful with any fees because you don't want anything to pop up that was taken out before they deposit your membership portion into your account. But yes, it's advisable to have your membership list on Totem.
We just started using Totem and I've been digging around in it a lot. You can add them manually. We had a couple sign up through our old PayPal and our president added them in. I think if you go to the membership screen, there's a little drop-down menu actions you can add manually. The other thing that, I mean, if you're into graphics like I am, because that's what I do for a living, there's 2 images that you can add. One we just like is our logo, and then the other one is like it's a banner. That banner shows up after the person is signed up. So you don't want to say join PTA on that one. You want to say thank you. So that was my little thing that I learned through joining myself.
Yes.
Thank you. Linda had another question. She missed something. Our board is going to the bank this weekend. Do we need to also open up a savings account? Linda, just like we said earlier, it's advisable just so you can have any money that's being deposited into your account. Square, Amazon Prime, any passive fundraiser like at Food for Less, any of those kinds of things, in case anybody hacks into it, they don't have access to your main account and all the thousands that you guys have worked hard for. But before you can do that, it needs to be approved by association. So unfortunately, you won't be able to do it this weekend unless you have a membership meeting tomorrow. And you need to take your minutes with you for proof.
Yeah, you need that. Yeah.
Annie, would Amazon Smile and Ralph's Script and Coke Rewards be considered separate fundraising? Yes. Yes.
Does she mean the 3-to-1 rule? Is that what she's asking about?
No, I think Annie.
That's correct. Yeah, that's so like in terms of our fundraising, we have our Jogathon, Readathon, and then I've had, listed the Amazon Smile as one line item, Ralph Scripts as one item, Coke. So then
they're all separate.
They're all considered the 3-to-1 rule still?
They're all separate fundraising.
Right. So I would have, so if I had 10 in my fundraise item, then I need to have 30 activities to account for. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, what about like with the restaurant nights, Sochi? I mean, we don't consider every single restaurant night.
Right.
So, but yes, because those are 2 different things. So Annie, let me go back. So yes, if you have 10 fundraising things, events, then yes, you would have to have 30 programs associated with that. But if you have if you have like restaurant nights and you have 7 different nights to go to different restaurants, you could group all those together because it's the same type. So what I understand is if you have 3 different grocery stores, they could be lumped into one. So instead of having, let's see, Food for Less, Ralph's, and the grocery outlet, those 3 would be one, and you would only need 3 programs.
Okay, but like say, for example, we're not even advertising something like a Coke reward, but then we get like $20 or $30 from it.
Minimal, right?
Then like it almost doesn't seem.
What is Coke reward? What is that?
I don't even know. There was a parent who apparently loves drinking Coke, so they register their thing, and then we just get this deposit from Coke or a check from Coke. I'm thinking like, what is this?
So I'm going
to ask Sochi.
We're going to ask.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think if it's a passive fundraiser, I think you can lump them all together.
Because Amazon Smile is like only maybe $25. Could be $25 a year.
Right.
Or maybe
could I then maybe lump it as all passive, like label it as passive fundraiser, and then put them all into one category?
We're going to ask.
Yes. We'll ask, but for your line items, I say yes for right now, and then we're going to research it. Just to make it easier. So put like passive on your line items for income, put passive fundraising, and underneath or in parentheses, Coke, Smile, those kinds of, what else? Food for Less, those kinds of things. That way there's a list of it and it's all one lump sum, but we're going to research it.
Because I actually questioned this with our CPA who did our taxes last year, because she was treating some of these Amazon Smiles and Ralph Script stuff separately. Because I said, well, these are all passive anyway, so why are you kind of listing it differently on our tax return? So she went and corrected it. So I just wanted to kind of see if there's been any conversation around things like that.
We'll research it.
All right.
We'll research it. Let me write it down.
Sochi, I missed the last thing that you said at the end. You said we have to take the approved minutes to the bank when we go and open the account for the signers and for opening the savings account as well.
Yes, that would
be.
just in case, I don't know what your bank will need, but just to be better prepared so they know that, yes, you have the authorization from your association to open the second account on their behalf.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me just write down this question before I forget.
And one thing I learned last year with going to get the check signers changed is that if they don't bank with the bank you're with, like I had our president banks with Wells Fargo, and we have a B of A account, she needed to provide her social security card. So just the FYI, so you know, you can get
Okay.
Thank
Yeah, and well, all they told me was that we needed to. Well, we had our secretary and our president and myself going, so I have to talk to them about that. And also,
Treasurer.
we have. I'm sorry, babe. I'm in a meeting. We have. I lost my train of thought.
Well, put the babe on the camera so we can all wave hi to her.
It's say hi, Oliver.
Hi, Oliver. Hi.
He's watching TV, so he's mad that I'm talking over the TV. Oh, and this is my daughter, Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
Oh yeah. So they just told me that I had to bring 2 forms of identification, but I have what would qualify as that? Just I have my ID. I think my passport's expired. Would a credit card count?
What's your bank that you're at?
I think they're doing Chase. I think, well, I don't know what we have currently because I haven't been able to get a hold of our treasurer and nobody knows, or maybe I don't know. I have to have an emergency meeting today with them.
Linda, do you have last year's books?
No, she hasn't given anything to me. I've tried getting a hold of her. I don't have anything, which is,
I'm sorry, what's
Altadena Arts Magnet.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, I have to talk to them about it.
So the documents we took for Longfellow to be of A last year was our minutes where we voted in the new board that shows who the board is. We took our bylaws, and then for ID, we took our driver's license and a credit card, and then some people who didn't bank with our bank had to provide a social security card.
Okay.
Ours is California Credit Union, and I called them to make sure I knew what everybody needed to bring, and they just told me photo ID, like a driver's license, and then a credit card that shows our name matching our driver's license. Nothing about a social security card.
We're opening an account at Chase, or I don't know if we already have an account there and we're just signing over. I'm gonna find out this weekend, I guess.
Yeah, so when we called last year to make our appointment, they didn't tell us anything about a social security card either, which is why our president didn't bring it with us, and she was not allowed to be added onto the account.
Oh, okay.
And when you go to your bank, just make sure that your minutes reflect that you're taking out last year's signers, so they don't still have access to sign.
And if our minutes don't reflect that,
yeah, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. Well,
it needs. Who said that, Kira?
Kira did.
I did. Yeah.
I mean, we always took. Actually, with the California Credit Union, I think I always took a letter written by the president, but really, I think banks want minutes, and so I would take those. But if you have just a letter, I mean, they seem to work with that. Okay, Kira?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the minutes definitely, it just shows who's elected.
Well, ask Carla to revise them. They can be revised, and she can update those and then send them to you. And
okay.
Done that way. I just want to say about the California Credit Union, and I think this is a similar issue with all the banks. They effectively want you to become a member of their bank. So you may find, Kira, that you do have to fill out a form. I feel like you did have to write in your social security number. So I know.
Are they going to run my credit?
I don't think they do. I don't remember that.
I don't recall that they did.
But they all want you to give your information and have a passcode and all that stuff. And I know at the Q&A last night, they're working on making a relationship with some credit unions so that our units can, going forward, not have this issue with banks. And they're also trying to give, I think, letter that you can give to banks to let them know, because I think they don't realize we're a nonprofit, like we're not, like this is the members come and go, right? So anyways.
Yeah, because I called Chase as well. We have ours with Chase, and all they said was photo ID and bylaws. They didn't even mention anything about minutes. We'll go ahead and, yeah, so I'll go ahead and take them. But again, our minutes also don't reflect that we're going to be taking the old people out. The other thing I wanted to ask, same thing, I'm new here. Should I have gotten the binder? Because the prior treasurer did not provide anything, and pretty much all I got was forms.
Good luck, Heidi.
I know, right?
You need to be handed off all the records. Like, you know, Kitty.
That's it. Alvin's got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I was not provided with anything. It's been like digging. Yeah, okay.
Look at you.
I'm pulling teeth here.
I love it.
I mean, it might be at the school, Annie. That might be the problem. I don't know. Well, although they had to get the audit done, so I'm not sure. But
Okay. Well, now I know. Thank you.
Yeah. You may have to hound them, Heidi, because you've got all the records from last year in there that you're going to need. And they do need to be stored on campus for, I think, 10 years before they can be destroyed. And so you'll have the treasurer binder in there. And at the end of the year, they need to be bound. So not in a binder, like spiral bound, a book, along with the secretary's minutes, and all of that secretary's notes also need to be bound together. So those two things need to be stored somewhere on campus for at least 10 years. Because in case you're audited by the IRS, you have all those records.
I know there was a unit that had issues with maybe not knowing the treasurer, or not like the treasurer wasn't elected till like a recent board meeting, and so she felt uneasy handing off all the documents to this person. And I think it's just, I mean, ideally your old board and your new board meet and get that transfer done smoothly. I think this is where PTAs comes in really well. Your president needs to input who the new contact members are, and all their contact information, not just the email, but a phone number, their address, because that could be a quick reference. Someone could just check that and make sure the person is who they say they are, I suppose. But also you could have your auditor, once the audit is done, they're the ones that transfer the books to the new treasurer. So,
and speaking of transferring things, I want to let you know, just as an FYI, as the year is coming to the year is starting, but when it's coming to an end, the responsibility of the previous treasurer, the outgoing treasurer, is to make sure that your taxes are done. If they're not done, you may incur a penalty. So the state taxes, IRS, all the stuff sent to the California Attorney General needs to be done before the year end. And if they're not done and that auditor did not do it, then it becomes your responsibility to get them done as fast as possible, because there may be up to a $40 fine per day if they are not done.
I've been there, so.
Yes, I've been there too.
Just let us know if you need help.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? I think we hit everything on the box.
Just if you can describe, what is the PTEZ? What is that for?
So my PTEZ is where our first district, and is it just tied to first district, or it's like the whole state? Yeah, right.
It's the whole state. Mm-hmm.
They keep all of our records. So as treasurer, you need to, all the main financial documents that you complete, you need to upload those to PTEZ throughout the year. Copies of the IRS postcard tax that you completed. Copies of your, PDF of your approved budget. It all has to be uploaded in my PTEZ. That's where you can also find contact information for your whole board. And then they also have the accounting program, which I recommend if all of you are new, that maybe just bite the bullet, get your board to approve. Well, I guess you'd have to get your association at this point to approve however much it costs. I think it's like $100 if you're under 20,000 or something like that. in terms of operating budget. It's a sliding scale based on your budget. But yeah, I think it'll make your life easier, and then the transfer of documents to treasurers will be easier as well. Did that answer your question, Heidi? Okay. I got one screenshot, but I don't know, Suchi, if you want to get another one with everyone.
Oh, sure. Let me see if I can get it. Let me see if I can do it from my computer.
Just a quick note. I went into the bank last week with our board and our old board, and I brought in a expired passport and my driver's license, and she just looked at both of them, gave me back my passport, and took a copy of my driver's license. She was fine with it. So
yeah, yeah,
that works.
Thank you, Alvin.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. If you think of anything, please email it to Angie. You've got our contact information there. I think, yes.
Oh, do you guys want my address in the chat right now, or should I? Maybe I'll do that.
So just if you have any, and we'll answer as fast as we can. If not, we'll include it in on Saturday's Q&A session in the afternoon. Please make sure. Oh, I hope you registered because registration is closed. If not, email address, Angie.
Well, that's my, for their unit remittance forms, that is my name and address. So if you have memberships already and you want to get on top of it.
I do have a question. Our auditor she got the notification late and she wanted to enroll for Saturday's class, but now it's closed. Is there any way she can still attend?
For the treasurer training?
For the the auditor wanted to attend the one on Saturday, but registration is closed. So how does she?
I can give her the link if you want to email me.
Okay.
All right.
So Saturday is going to be the same thing as today?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But then there will be...
I don't have to go.
Yeah. Unless you want to go to the 12:31.
That's a question.
Like a general Q&A if you have any questions about other stuff.
Yeah. We're trying very hard to be more streamlined and conscious of your time. So on that note, we are just about done. I think, is there any other questions? Thank you so much for being Uber volunteers, because we are the ones that get things done, and we push others to get things done. And sometimes we have to be a little pushy to get our documents in on time. So don't be afraid. Tact will go a long way along with that honey, but sometimes you just have to crack that whip. So thank you. I know you're going to be put in some difficult situations, so just smile through it and delegate as much as you can. You are not the sole person responsible for everything in your PTA, but you will be held accountable for the financial part, because you are the chair of that budgeting committee, of the finance committee. So thank you. It is a big role in your unit, and it takes a big person to do it. So thanks. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.